the country where it's been applied in a good way, where it's been a positive improvement for a school district or a system in a state. In Ohio, they determined that our school funding was unconstitutional. That has been found now several times, and state legislators have been told that they must do something about it, and they haven't. They just haven't done anything to fix the school funding problem. And instead of fixing the school funding problem, they put into place the broken charter system. That's where we are, right now, and that has a big impact on all of our communities here. And then I think our other issues, sort of a natural issue for us as activists, is healthcare. And, we've worked a lot on the healthcare issue over the last year and a half, and access to healthcare costs.
And so there are a lot of different aspects of that in our community, and how we're seeing the problems with our healthcare system play out kind of keep unfolding, sadly. So Ohio doesn't have a lot of options on the marketplace, and we know that the cost has gone up for a lot of healthcare plans. People, I'm sure this is not very different in other places in the country, but in our community, most people are one catastrophic illness away from really financial disaster, or one car accident or one injury away from financial ruin. And so that's a really big issue. But there are a lot of other health related issues. Like Lorraine alluded to, the opioid epidemic is huge and has really far reaching impact. And then we just both recently started working with this Healthy Start Citizens Commission, which also is working to address problems caused by large medical corporations who have come in and taken over local hospitals, used them in some rather unfortunate ways to get tax benefits and some other not community-focused benefits for the corporation. So really, they destroyed a huge aspect of a local community, and then they pulled out and closed the hospital. So there's a huge part of our county that doesn't have a hospital right now. So we're trying to help figure out how to move forward from that. But there are really a lot of issues. And again, it's very related to economic justice and making sure that not just wealthy people with great insurance have access to healthcare, but that everybody has access to good healthcare. We keep talking about the economy here, but jobs in the economy are like the overall arching issue that I think everybody here faces, except that maybe our opponents, because they've had great jobs for quite a while now. And these are all interrelated. These, hospitals closing costs us jobs, not just in the hospital, but it has a ripple effect throughout the community. Charter schools are run by a much smaller staff than a school system, a local public school system. So, all of these things are interrelated in many different and complicated ways, but there are definitely different ways to tackle these problems that we feel ready to address. And I think that there is something to be said for us having been very family focused in our personal lives in recent years, because I think these are issues that have historically been forgotten by white male politicians, and that they don't really impact their potential financial gain. I think that they don't pay attention, and that's not how we're working. That's not the type of advocates for our community that we will be. I know that we're very concerned with making sure that our community does have voice, and that all people in our community have voice, and that these issues are fixed not just for the wealthy people that can, afford great representation when they need it, but that everybody in the community has input and that they feel valued, and that all parts of the community have the resources that they need.
Well, that's great. And I am so pleased that you guys are running. I think it's time for fresh, progressive voices in Stark County. And I think that my mom is wrong, and there are lots of Democrats in Stark County.
I told her that last time.
I know. And we will, on our website, put your websites and your Facebook pages and your Twitter feeds so that everybody can learn a little bit more about you. You have gorgeous websites. I love them.
Oh, thank you. A very good friend of ours did that for us. He did a fantastic job. Yes.
That's great. And I think that's such a fantastic way for people to get involved who aren't themselves ready to run, or, don't know how else to help, or maybe shy and don't like knocking on doors. If you've got the talent to help somebody with a website, that's a really great way to get involved.
And the one thing we've said, and at least I've said it many times, that our campaigns feel like a real true community grassroots campaign, because our friends are all just rolling up their sleeves and pitching in wherever we need help. And we have been overwhelmed with, everything that people are willing to do for us and to make this a reality and see us elected. So it's been just an amazing experience only in the few short weeks that we've been doing it.
So I think that we've seen how really strongly people want this to work out. Mm-hmm. I think that we do represent something that people hold very dear to their hearts, and it's hope for a better future for our community.
Well, great. Thank you both so much for running for office, and thank you for coming on. And I will be watching your campaigns very closely, and maybe if I'm back in the summer, I'll knock on some doors for you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Kelly, and I am here in this segment with Ann Gillespie, who is running for Illinois State Senate in the 27th District. Hello, Ann.
Hi, Kelly.
Thank you so much for coming on. And maybe you could start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and who you are and why you've decided to run for office now.
Sure, and thank you for inviting me today. I am a lifelong resident of the Northwest suburbs and spent most of my career in the healthcare field. I had taken early retirement in 2016 to do something different. I finished paying tuition, so I could try something new, and that was about the time that the election happened. And so I got involved. Coming out of the election, I went out to the Women's March, got involved with a group when I got back that was doing some post-March activity. And the more I got involved, the more work I did there, the more interested I became in doing more in the way of public policy and more advocacy kind of work. But one of the things that group wanted to do was to be involved in elections and be involved in electing more progressive voices. So I became the group's liaison to Jan Schakowsky's office and got to know Jan and her team. And through that, got to know some other elected officials, including our local township Democratic committeeman. And they talked to me about getting involved after they saw some of the work I did in trying to advocate for local village boards of trustees to not opt out of the Cook County earned sick leave and minimum wage ordinances. And in the course of that work, they got interested in me running for office, which I thought was going to be a trustee office, but the office they wanted me to run for was state senate. Long way of saying how I got here, but it really came out of the Women's March and the activism that we saw arise from that group.
That's terrific. And was it the Chicago Women's March that you were at?
I was actually at the D.C. one. My sisters all live in other states, and we all decided to meet up at D.C. and do it together.
That's fantastic. I love that. So I'm very familiar with the city of Chicago. I live on the south side, but I'm not as familiar with the northwest suburbs, and I don't know how much our listeners might be. So could you tell us a little bit about the 27th District and what that looks like and what sorts of communities are within that district?
The district is comprised of parts or all of several communities. Arlington Heights, Palatine, Rolling Meadows, Mount Prospect. Prospect Heights make up the biggest chunk of it. And then it includes smaller parts of Inverness, Des Plaines, Elk Grove Village, Hoffman Estates, a little bit of Wheeling, and a little bit of South Barrington.
Can you tell us a little bit about what those suburbs, kind of what the makeup is demographically, and kind of what the income levels are of people who live in those?
The suburbs are a mix of industrial areas and business areas and home areas. The population is largely middle income, what you'd call middle class homes. There is a growing diverse population coming in. So we've got some good sized immigrant communities from Asia, from Latin America, and from Eastern Europe. So we've really been growing in diversity. I couldn't tell you what the average income is. I can tell you that there is a wide range of home values and different levels of income. I know we have some schools that have a majority of their school population is on free or subsidized free or partial lunches, which is an indicator of lower income, obviously. But we've got a large number of folks that are homeowners as well. So there's a fair amount of diversity out here.
And what are the issues that really concern you and that you really want to make sure are addressed if you become a state senator?
Well, I tell you, what I really want to see is that we invest in people and infrastructure. Those are my two biggest areas, because in my experience and my background, those are the keys to not only growing your economy as a state, but also in doing what's right for your people. My background as a child, my father was in a plane crash, and we had all the economic impacts that come from having the main breadwinner have some life-altering injuries coming out of that. And we lost everything. We lost, including our house. But at that time, there was a stronger social safety net. So my perception growing up of government was of one that lent a helping hand to families that were struggling and gave them the tools to be able to pull themselves up out of situations. And so that's how I view the role of government. I view a big part of the role of government is to help its people to get through tough times and tough situations. I also learned in my years in the healthcare industry that the way you can grow your economy and attract businesses is by providing the skilled labor that businesses are looking for, as well as having a strong infrastructure. You know, Chicago and Illinois is a transportation hub for the country. It's critical that we maintain that and invest in our infrastructure, because that is a big reason why some industries are staying in the Illinois area. Investing in people as a skilled resource is vital to growing businesses and attracting businesses as well. So I think that those are the foundation of what I view the role of government to be and what I hope to focus on in Springfield. More specifically, I think we need to modify our tax structure to provide a sound fiscal basis for the state. We do not have a tax structure that is capable of sustaining the investments we need to be able to continue to provide the basic services that we need to provide in the state. And without modifying that tax structure, we are going to continue to face problems of debt and not investing in our people and in our infrastructure. So I think that is a critical place where we need to start.
And you're a mom, you have 2 kids. So are your children adult children now?
They are.
How has being a mother sort of affected how you view what government should be doing and what the issues are that you want to be working on?
Well, you know, both I and my kids are products of the public school system. And that's a very critical role of government, to provide sound, high-quality education for our children. I think that goes beyond the kinds of things that we focus on too much today, which are test scores. I think it encompasses not only the basics of learning and education, it also encompasses the societal elements of character building. It encompasses career pathways and helping our kids select the kind of career path they want to go down, which is why one of the big things that I'm passionate about is expanding vocational education opportunities for kids. And it's not a question of providing tools for kids who can't make it to college. It's a question of providing options for our kids. There are a number of kids today that wouldn't have any problem in college, but the careers coming out of college may not be what they want to do. And we're not giving them the options by not investing in vocational ed programs. I also think they're a key tool that we can use to help develop the economy through partnerships with businesses and unions and schools to provide these kind of programs. So I really see education as a key role of government, but I don't view education as just the schoolroom. I view it as early childhood education all the way through career and retraining kinds of programs as well.
You have a primary coming up pretty quickly here.
Mm-hmm.
And you've had some really big endorsements. Can you talk a little bit about what that has meant for you to have so many current state senators and other positions like that and other big groups endorsing you?
It's meant a tremendous amount to me. Some the associations that have been endorsing me, like Planned Parenthood and Personal PAC, Equality Illinois, Association of Social Workers, Independent Voters, Sierra Club,